Sooner Nation, Longhorn fans, welcome to episode 184 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas, and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, the Oracle of the South, Paul Feinbaum, has decreed officially that Arch Manning is the best college quarterback since Tim Tebow in 2006. Does this give you confidence, or does this shake everything you know? Because the reality is, Kevin, he cannot be, will not be, is not going to be, probably isn't the best quarterback in college football since 2006. I think we're leaving off some pretty big names when we start comparing quarterbacks. Tim Tebow, hell of a college football player, a great college football player, a legendary college football player. Not the best quarterback that we've had in the last 20 years. So, oddly enough, this statement is at times perplexing and weird and odd, either because you're comparing Arch to Tebow or whatever, but you're skipping over, I think, probably 8 to 9 other quarterbacks that would be considered better than Tebow, let alone the fact that Arch isn't going to be the best quarterback this year. What am I missing with this oddly phrased statement?
Well, I mean, this is the whole classic build you up to tear you down later type deal from Feinbaum. So he's not fooling me. The hype around Arch, if you really listen to it, is really not coming from anybody associated with Texas. Not coming from really Texas fans. We're excited about Arch, but all that hype is really coming from ESPN and all those other national guys to get you to be angry if you don't like Texas, like we heard from you, who's saying that there's no way he's the best quarterback this year. I think that's a bit premature.
It's a bit premature to say that a quarterback who has given us some tape already, we know kind of what we're looking at, is to say that he's not a top 3 quarterback in the SEC is not premature, Kevin.
No, you said he's not going to. You said he's not going to be. You didn't say what he is. You said we don't know what he's going to be.
Dude, come on, dude. I think he's going to be a pretty solid quarterback. We've seen this at Texas before, though. You're acting like we haven't seen stuff at Texas. Look at Quinn Ewers. Okay. You talked about his talent for 3 years.
Correct.
And it never materialized beyond a really good college quarterback. Correct. He was a 7th round draft pick. If we want to go back in the day,
we've seen the hype. Anything.
We have seen the hype that Phil Simms can bring, or that Chrissy Simms can bring to the University of Texas. He never went beyond a competent, good quarterback in college.
It was 25 years ago. It's completely irrelevant.
Hashtag never forget, Kevin. I don't ever
obviously
forget.
we haven't forgotten, but you know what you're saying? Because Jason White did something, that means that John Mateer, come on, man. What are you talking about?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you. You're making my point for me. You're making my point for me. Let's look at the lineage of Oklahoma quarterback. You bring up a great point. Jason White, Sam Bradford, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams for a year. I think we can say that the University of Oklahoma has produced high-level quarterbacks over the last 25 years, and the University of Texas has not. Very simple.
That absolute facts has nothing to do with Arch Manning. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, the only reason Vince Young became Vince Young is by accident. If Matt Brown could have figured out a way to screw it up, he would have screwed it up, Kevin. I think we can agree with that.
Yes, the same Matt Brown who hasn't coached a game at Texas in 12 years.
It doesn't matter. Kevin, you're missing the point. This isn't your pedigree. This is your DNA. This is the Texas ethos, is to live life based on potential. And this is what we're talking about with Quinn Ewers. This is what we're talking about with Sam Ellinger. This is what we're going to talk about with Arch Manning. The reality is that he's going to be a potentially great quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years, and nothing's going to come from it. Nothing.
We'll see.
It sounds like it sounds like despite your disagreeing with Paul Feinbaum, you actually agree with Paul Feinbaum. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's not what you're hearing. But I think Arch is going to be all right.
Okay.
I'm not worried about Arch.
Can we at least acknowledge that to compare him to Tim Tebow is an oddly weird comparison?
Of course. But first of all, he's an SEC homer. So.
Okay. What about Joe Burrow? What about Joe Burrow? What about Tua? What about
different, man?
What about Jaden Daniels? What about all these guys out of the SEC that were really, 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 really good? And he's going to pick Tim Tebow to compare him to?
Well, because no one's been as polarizing as Tebow.
What is it about Arch's play that is polarizing? He is a
I'm talking about bringing up a guy who invokes those kind of feelings, a polarization. That's what Tim Tebow does.
That's an interesting.
And obviously, you get the same deal with Arch in Texas. No
could you have said
polarizing in Texas?
Could you have said that about Baker Mayfield? Do you think he's as polarizing as Tebow?
No, because you really couldn't question Baker's skills. I think a lot of people didn't like his attitude, the way he handled himself on the field sometimes, but his production and talent was undeniable. With Tebow, is like, this guy's good, but is he good? You know what I mean? Like he was a physical player, physical runner, but he would throw the ball, just kind of look weird. Baker was none of that. It's like, this dude's awesome. He's just kind of a jerk on the field sometimes.
Tim Tebow's one of the great college football players of all time. I think he's on my board over here. Yeah, he's right here in the middle of this book. He's one of the great college. Heisman, 1.5 national championships as a start. You know what I mean, based on how much he played. I'm not taking anything away from Tebow. I would have taken Tebow on my team at any point in the. But Arch is a different quarterback. The comparison is odd and it's off-putting, and it's classic fine. And to your point, it is classic Feinbaum. I will agree with you.
It's got you all riled up.
All right. Speaking of things that also got me riled up, the other people on the Arch hype train include Athlon Sports. Athlon Sports comes out with their preseason All-American team. Arch Manning is first team All-American for Athlon Sports. Now, other players making the list from the University of Texas include Anthony Hill Jr. and Colin Simmons. Those two, I have no argument against. I have no argument against Anthony Hill Jr. and Colin Simmons. In fact, I don't want to do anything to piss those two dudes off. All right? I will talk a lot of trash about Texas on this podcast from here until eternity. But I'm going to try to avoid Anthony Hill Jr. and Colin Simmons, because those two dudes are dudes, right? They're
absolutely, man.
Oklahoma is going to have to figure out a way to neutralize those two guys in the second Saturday in October, because they're the real deal. Colin Simmons might be the best edge rusher, I don't know, since when. And that's not a Paul Feinbaum weird statement. I think you agree with me, right?
Yeah, not a hot take. Yeah, he's pretty special, man. 9 sacks as a true freshman.
Arch as first team All-American. Come on, dude.
Hey,
come
on. Me too.
Even you can admit.
Of course. Listen, you got to understand, man. This is not us. We're not the ones saying that Arch is going to win the Heisman. We're not saying Arch is going to be first team All-American. We think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be good. I'm not saying he's going to be first team All-American. And I certainly wouldn't personally have him listed as the first team All-American quarterback, when we have guys like Nussmeier who have, been very productive. So I think it's weird too. But again, man, here's the thing. This sport, it's all about hype and bringing attention to your particular website and stuff, it gets people talking. And what better way to get people talking about your website or your ranking than to talk about Arch Manning? Because
Look,
it brings everybody out.
we
Brings
knew
out
this was
Texas
going to.
fans. It brings out more importantly, it brings out Texas haters.
When Texas signed a Manning,
Correct.
in this case, Arch Manning, it's the confluence of the two biggest brands in football, right? In some ways, Texas football and the Manning brand, which is probably unparalleled in terms of star power as it relates to quarterbacks, sports personalities. I mean, Archie won a Heisman. Peyton won a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls. Eli won 2 Super Bowls. And they're pretty awesome people. Like, if you don't like Peyton Manning, it's just because you're finding reasons to be a hater, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to like him, but they're pretty good dudes.
He's not an unlikable guy. Neither is Eli. Yeah.
I actually like Eli. I actually talk about this all the time. I really enjoy the Manning cast on ESPN.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna boycott. I think I'm gonna boycott it for the next few years. I'll just be honest with you.
They're not hyping up Arch. They'll answer a question about him if they're asked, but they're not here. They don't want. Obviously they've been in this situation, so the last thing they want to do is just put any more unnecessary pressure on their nephew.
I think Eli figured it out. I think Eli figured out a way to avoid the spotlight in a way, and that's with being the quarterback of the New York Giants.
Correct.
He was still able to be under the radar. And the weight of expectations comparatively across other quarterbacks in his era never really hit Eli Manning.
Yeah.
To the point where he won 2 Super Bowls, and it's still questioned as to really how good was he.
Exactly. It's like he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, but is he a Hall of Famer?
But is he a Hall of Famer? And I think he's okay with that. But Peyton and now Arch have been forever squarely in the crosshairs of how good can they be.
Yeah. The good thing is, though, for Arch, I think is something that he's just been prepared for pretty much his entire life.
Well, other players of note, second team, Michael Taffy, tight end transfer injuries. How do you say his name?
Injuries.
Mm-hmm. And then fourth team, Trey Wisner. Oklahoma. This is an Oklahoma, Texas podcast. Oklahoma doesn't get mentioned until the third team with Jaden Ott and R. Mason Thomas, and the fourth team, Deion Burks.
Okay. How do you feel about that? Is that fair, unfair? Is there anybody missing, snubbed? What do you think?
I think there's 3 snubs. Now, I don't know where they're at, and I don't know which team they're on. I think here's the one player that's being way overlooked by the national media, and it's Robert Spears Jennings.
Okay.
I thought he had a hell of a year last year at safety. I thought he surprised everybody because you expected Bowen, you expected Billy Bowman, you expected all these, us to have a really, and we did had a pretty good secondary, but it was really Robert Spears Jennings. The dude was an anchor for that defense.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting how it ended up. It seemed like him and Eli Bowen were your best secondary players last year.
Strong agreement, and that's the other one I have on here is like, I really think Eli Bowen should be making corner somewhere on this list. Does he have to be on the first team or second team? I don't know. It's hard for a guy like me to rate cornerbacks, across the country. It starts to get a little, but dude is really, really good. And then Kip Lewis not getting any love. Kip Lewis is a great linebacker, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
he's got a great opportunity to get out of the shadow of Stutzman, Danny Stutzman from last year. So,
do you? Am I crazy that those 3 shouldn't have been on the list? Or
no, I don't think you're crazy. Those are really good football players.
I think they are.
Yeah.
R. Mason Thomas, He's a pretty good edge, and I think he's only going to get better. I like him on the third team, and of course, Jay Knott makes me feel good. Mateer is not on the list. I don't know if he should be. I'm not sure. I don't know that I have to make an argument for him one way or the other, because you're only talking 4 quarterbacks. I think Arch is too high. I just still do.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I would have had Nussmeier, Klubnik,
Yeah.
maybe even Lenore Sellers.
Lagway, or do you like Arch over Lagway?
I do. I like Arch over. I mean, I love Lagway. You know this. I've loved Lagway since he was in high school. But I mean, and those two around the same. I think the upside's a little bit higher with Arch over Lagway, but I'm a Lagway guy.
I don't know. I can't remember who the quarterback is at SC. Is that somebody that can make a run for one of these top 4 or 5 spots?
Southern California, USC.
Yeah, USC. Yeah.
Who was their quarterback this year?
They kind of went through a couple, right? But they
had excuse me, Miller Moss last year, and then
but they've kind of moved on from him, right?
Yeah, Jaden Maiava, the quarterback from Arizona, was there, and then they've got, I think, Sam Heward is there, and so I don't know who they're. I don't know if they've named the number 1 guy yet.
Yeah, and then you got to think the quarterback at Oregon, just because it's Oregon, is probably going to emerge. It's just hard to know.
Yeah, Dante Moore, 5-star kid, started off at UCLA, transferred to Oregon. He was actually there last year. They basically redshirted him last year, and he'll be likely their starting quarterback this year. Very talented guy.
Oregon is always a team. I mean, the only reason we locally paid attention to Oregon was Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
I mean, Oregon can be so out of sight, out of mind, but I think they're going to be very good again. I think Dan Lanning will have them rolling. The fact that he's a 5-star second-year player, is that what you're saying? Is he, or a third-year player,
third
right?
year, actually, yeah. He played some as a true freshman at UCLA, and then sat out behind Gabriel last year.
So he could be pretty good, you're saying?
Correct.
All right. I don't know.
No. I listen. That's a flyer by them saying, "Hey, we think this guy can be good, and he has a big name. Let's just put him there. It'll get people to the side. People will start talking."
They got me. They hooked me,
Right.
Kevin. They hooked me.
Again, and I'll continue to say this: it's not us. It's not us. We like Arch. We think he'll be good. I do understand there'll be growing pains along the way. He's going to have a game where he throws 2-3 interceptions. That's what young quarterbacks do. But then he's going to look awesome too. And as long as he looks awesome more often than he doesn't, I'll be good with that.
Speaking of young quarterbacks, Oklahoma and Texas appear to have signed the future commitments. You're right. I'm sorry. They have secured the commitments of what is believed to be their future quarterbacks. For the University of Oklahoma, 4-star Bowe Bentley out of Salina, Texas. And then for Texas, it's 5-star Dia Bell out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Kevin, can you break down these 2 quarterbacks and what they mean for each school and what we're kind of going to be looking at as in the next couple of years?
Well, I think both fan bases should be excited about their commitments that they got. We'll start with Bowe Bentley, right? And he is, for me, just a classic Texas football quarterback. Just a state of Texas high school quarterback. He is kind of that gunslinger guy. Loves playing out of the pocket, making throws on the run. He can make throws off balance, off one leg, roll into his right, roll into his left, and make accurate throws down the field. He's tough. He doesn't mind running inside. Plays against pretty good competition in Texas. So, yeah, I like his moxie. I like his makeup. I like what he's about. It's kind of like, it just kind of reminds me a little bit of, Baker, Mateer type of guy. He might be a little bit bigger. I've seen him listed anywhere between 6'1" and 6'3", but around 200 to 205 pounds.
When I hear you describe him, The only thing that gives me pause, right, is the failed Texas gunslinger type quarterback that we just let transfer to Auburn. Is there a
Okay.
comparison between Jackson Arnold and him? Like, is
I mean,
that a
maybe.
concern?
I wouldn't have it as a concern. I think Jackson Arnold's issues just had a lot to do with just a perfect storm of bad things happening around him.
Of offensive suck? Yeah.
Yeah, it was everything. So I still don't know how good Jackson Arnold is or isn't. I'm not saying he sucks. I'm not closing the book on him yet.
It's hard to unsee those turnovers from
It
last
is,
year.
it is. But everything was. I mean, he had a perfect storm of having an inexperienced offensive line, just the bottom of the roster when it came to the receivers he was throwing to, and a lack of production at running back. It's just a perfect storm for.
Yeah.
You guys would have had to do that Alabama game plan every week to have success offensively, and even that it would
so
have
why
been.
did so
Well, I
so
just
why
don't know
did
if it would have
why
been
didn't we?
sustainable. I don't know if it would have been sustainable. And again, it took a replacement, another guy on your staff being elevated to calling plays for you guys to get that. So it was just a perfect storm of just everything bad happening around him. So I don't know. I don't use that as a comparison. I treat every player as differently, like you with the
Okay.
Arch and Chris Sims thing.
I think that's a perfect comparison. So back to Bo Bentley. For an Oklahoma fan who doesn't follow recruiting as closely as you do and other people, obviously, what is keeping Bo Bentley from being a 5-star? Is there something in his game? Is it something in his competition? Is it size? What is, because we're going to talk about Diabell here in a second, who is a 5-star, and I'm going to ask why. But for Bo Bentley, what is keeping him, and should there be any concern between 4 and 5-star with him?
I don't think so. I mean, I would go by who's recruiting these guys, who wants them, and maybe there's more projection stuff where some guys seem to be a sure thing, right? Diabell's a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. We'll get into him, but he's been on the radar for longer too. We've known about Diabell for 2 years now. I think Bo Bentley is really just elevated over the last year. And it had a really good run in the playoffs with Salina taking them to the state championship. And I think really people started to really take notice of him. So I think he's continuing to rise, and who knows, he still has a senior year to play. So the evaluation period is not over for him. But I like what he does, man. If you look at Mateer, you watch Bo Bentley, you see a lot of the similar things. I think what you like about him is that you feel like you always have a chance. And we talk about that with Mateer, right? We don't know how good OU or how bad OU is going to be this year, but I think for OU fans, at least it'll be fun.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's going to be fun. And you can deal with it. I mean, losing sucks. Not having the kind of season you want always sucks, but at least you'll have an offense that's fun. You know what they're trying to do, and you have a guy who just can do things that give you a chance, even when everything else around you may not be going well. He gives you a chance because he can make plays that aren't designed, right? The play may be designed to do this. The defense might have a perfect call, but he can still make something happen, create something.
Do you? I almost get the sense with guys like Baker and Mateer that when they're not as highly ranked, but they develop, right, and they kind of turn into whatever they are, that in a sense they're almost playing with house money. Like the pressure isn't there.
Correct.
Like the pressure on Mateer versus Arch. I mean, look, he's a quarterback at Oklahoma. There is pressure for John Mateer,
but the expectations aren't there from.
It's not Arch Manning. He's a
3-star guy who has elevated himself. Not correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, dude, you're anything you get from me is gravy.
Yeah.
Versus Arch Manning, it's like you better be perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting way to look at that. Okay, Diabell.
Now, real quick, Bo Bentley though. Now we're talking. He's a top 100 guy. I think on average,
No, I think we had
yeah,
some expectations with Bo
yeah,
Bentley.
and I mean, he chose OU over LSU, so it's not like a guy like Mateer who was at Washington State, Baker who had offers from Rice in Washington State, walked on at Texas Tech.
No,
He
no, I
might be the
agree.
same type, but yeah, not
No, no,
so.
no, no, I agree. That was just more of a comment about Mateer. But for
Gotcha.
Bentley, let me ask you this about Bentley before we talk about Diabell. Is is Bentley the kind of player that secures, and we haven't seen anything from Arbuckle yet. We anticipate him being good, but is this the kind of player that secures an Arbuckle as an offensive coordinator for the next 3 or 4 years?
I mean, maybe it's hard with quarterbacks. You just don't know what you're gonna get from them, right? I mean, talk about Arnold, and you thought you guys were set for the next 3 years at quarterback with him. So you just don't know. But for a new offensive coordinator to secure a guy like that who was being pursued by, a lot of the better programs in the country, and to get him early, yeah, it's a great move. It's a great pickup for OU. So OU fans should feel
Oh,
good about it.
okay, Diabell, 5-star on Fort Lauderdale. What is Texas? What's it? What are we expecting? What's the timeline? What's it mean with Arch? Like,
Well,
give us the perspective on
it's
Diabell.
great. I mean, there's no rush for him to get on the field, right? We're not expecting anything from him for 3 years down the line, probably. So
You don't think Arch is thinking about 2 years, this
I
year
don't
and
know, man.
next?
I mean, if he had, well, first of all, if he does have a decision to make, that's a great thing for Texas. That means he had a great season and Texas had a great season. So, but I don't know, man. He's really talented, and the difference really with him, and they can both do a lot of the same things. Diabell seems more comfortable, more natural in the pocket. He can
Then even
run.
then Arch.
No, 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 no. I'm sorry. I'm comparing him to Bo Bentley.
Oh, okay.
Compared to Bo Bentley, where Bentley loves to be, he can make throws from the pocket, but Bentley loves to roll around. He seems to be at his best like that. The play breaks down a little bit, he rolls out, and he can hit guys 30 yards down the field in stride, off balance. He's great at that. Whereas Bell can do that too, but he seems to sit in the pocket and make down field throws. He has great mechanics, great footwork. Basically, the opposite of how Quinn Ewers was when it came to that. Remember, Quinn was kind of like that, always off platform. He never, which is I still can't believe it, never developed that footwork. He never got it right. It's shocking, but he just didn't. Even with Sark coaching him for 3 years, at certain moments, you see it at times. Michigan game, setting his feet, making accurate throws down the field. Diabell, no issues with that. I mean, if you watch this kid, he can just, his deep ball is great, man. I mean, he can drop it in the bucket between defenders. Just great mechanics. So we're really, really excited about him. Great competitor, son of a former NBA player, Raja Bell. We all remember is a great defensive player. Um, yeah, we're just really excited about him and the future.
Um, I don't know if this means anything or not. I just kind of want to say it. If it comes off the wrong way, correct me. But isn't it interesting the way you just described those two quarterbacks? And if this was 20 years ago, and you asked me based on your description to pick the white quarterback and the African American quarterback,
Yeah,
that it would be the exact, like, there's no way that conceptually you'd go, well, he's really good in the pocket and he likes to be in the pocket and he doesn't, he wants to be
yeah,
on time.
yeah.
And this guy wants to run around and make plays and da 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 da. And you'd be like, oh,
Oh yeah, it's Mike Vick and Peyton Manning or whatever.
it's just crazy, right? That
Uh,
that the I think it should be, but I think that it's interesting the way quarterbacks in general have been developed to such that that's not even it. Like, it's not even, what are we doing anymore? If you're
correct,
making that comparison, it's pretty weak,
for
because
sure.
you just described two very high level quarterbacks and we're talking
Yeah.
totally different
And again,
styles.
it's like Bentley can play in the pocket fine, and he can run. Diabell had long touchdown runs against some of the best teams on his schedule last year. But, he just seems a little bit more comfortable just sitting in there and making throws down the field, which I think what Sark prefers. I think that's why he loves Arch because
yeah, he wants to go pro style. Arch wants to go. I mean, Sark wants to be a pro style offense. He really does.
What I love about Arch, though, is that he gives you the threat of running. So on every run play, and you will have this with material. You had it even with Arnold last year. Anytime you go to hand the ball off, now
you have to account for the quarterback.
You have to account for the quarterback run every play, and that just takes one more defender away from chasing down the running back.
Will you have to do that with Diabell?
Yeah, I think he'll force you to keep the defense honest. Yeah,
so
he can run.
So there will be some RPO with Diabell for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and then just RPO downfield accuracy. He gives you the ability to give you the offense that Sark really wants to run. As far as because Quinn did not throw the deep ball great. Quinn was good in the middle of the field, the intermediate stuff. That's where he was at his best at. Short, intermediate. Arch gives you the deep ball. Diabell gives you the deep ball, along with the potential of the RPO and the quarterback run.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like Diabell's a 5-tool quarterback. That's what it sounds like you're telling me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so what biggest difference between Bell and Bo Bentley? Pocket presence?
Yeah.
Arm talent, size?
Yeah, he's a little bit bigger. I think, again, who knows how, you get different things. Like
No, I know, but
between 6'1", but he's a little bit bigger. Bell's a little bit bigger. It's not. He's listed, I think, at 6'2.5", around 215, 220.
He's not Tyrone Swoops.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Vince Young at 6'5". Sam Bradford, one of those guys, but he's got good size. I think it's just right now the polish, the mechanics in the pocket. Diabell's a little bit more advanced with that, but again, I love Bentley because you feel like you have a chance with him.
Do you think both programs are anticipating a 2-year window for Arch and Mateer, or you're thinking a 3-year window for Arch?
No. 2. I think 2. Yeah.
So 25 and 26, and then Diabell. So we're thinking Bentley.
We've also got KJ Lacey, who the staff likes too. He's a true freshman this year. So, but potentially Diabell's more talented than Lacey is.
Will Lacey be on transfer watch at the end of this season? Is that what your concern is?
Well, no, because Diabell won't be there until this time next year. He still has to play his senior year. So does Bo Bentley. So.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So there's no real timeline or transfer watch just yet.
Kevin, let's thank our sponsors real quick halfway through the show. As always, since day one, since episode 1, for 184 episodes, Brown O'Haver has been along for the ride. Brown O'Haver is a public insurance adjusting firm. They work for you, not the insurance company. So if you have a property claim that you've had to file insurance on, hail, wind, fire, tornado, flood, you want to call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. They get their clients 30 to 40% more than they get on their own. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, storm season is potentially over, which means it's a good time to finally address storm damage to a roof. If you agree with that, who should they call?
Yeah, give your friends at Pioneer Roofing a call. They'll go out and give you a free inspection, let you know if you need a roof replacement, or maybe you need a roof repair, or maybe you don't need anything. They'll give you an honest response, let you know exactly where you stand. Give them a call, 405-549-2712.
Kevin, I'll let you pick where we want to go now. Phil Steele has come out with his 2025 finishing order for the SEC, or we can talk early betting lines for Texas and Oklahoma. Where do you want to start the
let's start with Phil Steele. I want to hear his rankings and everything.
Okay, here's the good news is Oklahoma comes in tied fourth with LSU and A&M.
Okay.
Bama at 3, Texas at 2, and Georgia at 1. Is Georgia at 1 a lazy pick, or is it somebody has to beat them before we unseat them?
Yeah, I don't think it's lazy. I think it's kind of, they have questions like everybody does. But I think sometimes when it comes down to it, you just trust them because they've just gotten it done. Right. And obviously, they have a big question mark at quarterback. But I mean, you know, Carson
Who
Beck
who who
wasn't
doesn't?
great.
Who doesn't?
We all
So
do, right?
yeah,
Except LSU, right? And South Carolina. But, I think we trust the other parts around Georgia's quarterback. And same
it's
with even with Texas. You trust
it
the people
it's
around them more.
it's interesting you bring up South Carolina because I do think Lenora Sellers is
I think he's awesome, man.
pretty
Love him.
good, right? I think we
Yeah.
both agree
Yeah.
he's pretty good. Phil Steele has them tied for 10th with Auburn. So the bottom half of the SEC with likely the best, maybe not Nussmeier, the second best returning quarterback. Is
Yeah.
that a little surprising? Um, this is behind Tennessee, who we don't know who's going to play quarterback. Behind Ole Miss with it's Simmons, right?
Yeah. Austin Simmons.
Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. Behind A&M, who I don't know. I still haven't seen what anybody thinks about A&M. I don't know how A&M gets tied for fourth with OU and LSU. I don't trust them at all. Their schedule's
Yeah.
actually pretty tough-ish. I think South Carolina's too low.
Me too. I mean, I guess he must feel like he doesn't trust them as a program yet because they lost a lot of guys, and he must not feel that they're a reload program yet, right? I mean, they lose some dudes,
I
but
guess. But
I feel like when you have that guy coming back at quarterback, though, I feel like
yeah,
that elevates you.
I think flipping them with A&M makes more sense. Putting them in a tie for position. I think it's positive. If OU does end in a T4 and they're tied with LSU and A&M, if they hold the tiebreaker over LSU, I think OU's in the playoff. I think if 4 teams from the SEC is not unreasonable getting the playoff, especially if
Not
one
at
of them
all.
is Oklahoma with a 9-3 record and a win over LSU.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Georgia's fascinating, man, and their schedule. First of all, they host some great games.
Who, Georgia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they've got Texas coming in, Alabama's coming in. So, I mean, they've got a great home schedule. So, I'm interested to see what their environment's like this year. I mean, Texas.
Oh, it'll be insane. Georgia has a great environment.
Yeah.
Georgia has a great environment for basketball. They have a great environment for everything.
Yeah.
It's and the way Kirby has them rolling. I'm with you though. Carson Beck was just okay.
You can see the talent, right? But it just never,
Well,
you know,
I don't. What do you think he's going to do at Miami?
that's a really good question, man. I'm fascinated to watch because they have quietly been stacking up talent since Cristobal's been there. So they've got a
Look,
great opportunity. Are they going to allow him to do more? Because with Georgia, I just never know what they're allowing their quarterback to do. They've never looked all in offensively, as far as from the quarterback position. Even Alabama was.
Who knocked out Georgia last year?
Notre Dame.
Here's the deal. Here's what Georgia does. Georgia does what old school Bama did prior to Sarkisian and maybe even Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Which is defense and run the ball, defense and run the ball, defense and run the ball. It's a pretty good, and have a quarterback that doesn't lose the game for you. It's a pretty good philosophy. It's worked very well.
Yeah,
so I don't want to
historically.
Yeah.
The philosophy that works in college football.
Yeah,
Really,
I
all
don't think we
levels
need
of
to.
football.
I don't think we need to question Kirby Smart's philosophy. If that's what he wants his quarterback to do, I think you do limit their ability to make mistakes is what he's limiting. You're talking about limiting playmaking and, opening up the offense. I think he's limiting the mistakes because that's how he beat Texas last year twice. Was y'all made mistakes and Georgia didn't. And they actually made mistakes in the first half, didn't they? Did y'all have
did.
3 turnovers?
Yes.
But
Yeah,
in
we
the
turned
second
them over
half,
in
they
both
didn't.
games. Yeah.
But the second half, they didn't. Of both games, they didn't make the mistakes. Y'all did. They won.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting, man. Week 3, they host or they got to go to Neyland. Again, we don't know who the Nico thing just
I think
completely transformed.
I think Tennessee's too high. He's got him at tied 7th. And
yeah, I mean, that's really high for a team that we have no idea who their quarterback is going to be. And even from the options, we don't know anything about these guys.
I like Arkansas better than Tennessee. I think Arkansas's got a favorable schedule.
Okay.
I think Tennessee has a really hard schedule and no quarterback. And that's now somebody could emerge. Heupel clearly a good offense, but Heupel, I don't know, man. As good as we thought Nico was, I did not think the offense was as good as all the hype that they received.
No, not at all. I mean, it didn't look right all year offensively for them. Besides Dylan Sampson running the football, that looked great.
But they don't have no
passing
Sampson this
game-
year, right? Didn't they lose?
No, they don't.
Sampson?
He's gone. Yeah, he's in the. I'm talking about that. Yeah, just last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. The offense last year, it just didn't look right. The passing game just never ever looked right.
I don't know. I mean, Steele's good. He's the prognosticator of prognosticators. We all love Phil Steele. I actually think the top 4. I'm curious about Bama because in some ways Bama is recruiting at an incredibly high clip again. Like I think they had a little bit of transfer issues because Saban leaves and DeBoer comes in, and I think that affected them. And Jalen Milroe. Still to be determined what his legacy is going to be because I think maybe a lot of it has to do with how well he does in the pros.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he had a great year last year, and so he's gone.
Very up and down.
Yeah, he's gone. So yeah, well, you look at the Georgia game, and he was a stud.
Yeah.
But then you look at the Oklahoma game, and you're like, "Who's this joker playing quarterback?" I mean, it was to your point, very weird,
really bad.
So I think if DeBoer has a quarterback, then I think 3rd is about right for them because they should be loaded at every other position.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they've got a gauntlet too, man. Georgia, Ole Miss, OU, LSU. They play LSU, right?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
I mean, that's tough.
It is very tough. So, I mean, their quarterback, and fans, right? They're always going to want the young guy in there. But they've got Ty Simpson. He's been around for a while. They've got the freshman, Keelan Russell from Duncanville.
Yeah, people love him. But he's a true freshman,
He's
right?
a true freshman. That's right.
Oh, man, that is...
Yeah, do you want to roll him out and just say, hey, we're going to roll with the kid and whatever happens, happens?
We're going to talk about lines here in a minute. I think the spot in which we play Alabama is important for Oklahoma because they'll have time to sort out some kinks. If OU's playing Alabama early, I think it would have been better for Oklahoma because I think this defense is experienced. I think they can really mix some stuff up. I think they can prepare some packages that would have messed with Alabama. I think late in the year at Bama is infinitely tougher than would have been, say, week 3 or 4.
Also, November 15th. I mean, Texas, Georgia, and OU and Alabama.
Oh, so good.
What are we
talking
about?
That's what we signed up for. That's what we signed up for.
Exactly what we signed up for. And I'll take it, man. Alabama schedule, real quick. I'm just going to run through it. They open up at Florida State.
Well,
and here's the thing: is when I say at Florida State, I don't mean in Atlanta or in Jacksonville.
You're saying Doak Walker.
Doak Campbell.
Doak
Campbell. Yeah, correct. So
All right, I'm
mean,
writing this down. At
okay,
FSU,
at FSU,
win,
August 30th. So
win.
opening.
No.
Oh,
Win. WIN.
oh,
Win.
okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll take the win.
Okay.
Florida
Next.
State was just too bad last year.
Too bad.
Louisiana Monroe at home.
Okay. Win.
Wisconsin at home. Still a
Win.
win, but it's interesting
They
matchup.
destroyed Wisconsin last year. It wasn't
Yeah,
even close.
no, it was not. Yeah, okay, then they got to go to Athens
Loss.
after a bye. They do get a bye after Wisconsin.
Still a loss.
Okay, they host Vanderbilt.
Win.
Yeah, they're not going to catch them off guard this year. They'll be ready to go against Diego Pavia and the
And they'll be at home too, right?
Commodores. Yeah, correct. Brian Denny.
Okay.
Then they go to Missouri.
Ooh.
I think that could be interesting. I still don't know who's going to be playing quarterback though for Missouri.
Win.
They host Tennessee.
Win.
They go to South Carolina.
Loss.
They host LSU.
Ooh,
What
that
a
could be the
massive
swing
game, November 8th.
To me, that's the swing game for them.
Yeah.
They got to go South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma.
That's right.
That's a hell of a kick right there.
It is.
Because regardless of how good South Carolina or Oklahoma are, they're not going to be easy.
And I mean, honestly, they have Tennessee the week before. I mean, Tennessee's quarterback situation, but I mean, it's not going to be an easy game.
You think they go to? Do they go to LSU?
No. Oh no. It's in Tuscaloosa.
So they host. They host Tennessee.
They host Tennessee as well.
Go to South Carolina.
Go to South Carolina, then host LSU. And
What do you think?
Oklahoma.
You think win or loss? You think win or loss against LSU?
I'm gonna go loss.
Okay, loss, and then let's say they win against the OU because revenge and all that. Okay, next.
Eastern Illinois, the classic SEC by.
I hate it. Just give us 9 games, SEC. Sankey,
Right.
come on, bro.
Stop. Yeah, what are you scared of?
Just stop it.
And then, of course, the Iron Bowl at Auburn.
Win. They always win that game. So what's that? 3 losses, 9-3.
9-3.
I mean, that's probably good for third.
Yeah. It's gonna be a madhouse.
I mean, I think the South Carolina LSU stretch for them is their biggest stretch.
Yeah,
and then Oklahoma. That's tough. All right. Hey, early lines, Kevin. Speaking of games, Texas lines plus 2.5 at Ohio State, minus 6.5 at Florida, minus 10.5 versus OU, plus 2.5 at Georgia, and minus 10.5 versus A&M. Anything stand out, or does that all sound about right to you?
You know, I thought I was a little bit surprised at how high the OU line was. Would have been a neutral site. I always see that minus, 6.5 maybe to start. Yeah, we've seen it before.
We've seen these lines before, man. People get on the Texas hype train. This is exactly what OU needs to see. I'm not saying they win right now. I mean, I will say they win. But in terms of honestly discussing them,
it's good for action. Yeah, it's good for the action.
It's good for the action, but I think the line is too big. 10.5?
Yeah, I told you, I was surprised by the OU line. I think the A&M one a little bit too.
I don't. A&M sucks, dude. A&M is A&M. Elko is just like every other coach they've had at A&M.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about him yet. Yeah, I'm not saying he sucks.
I don't think he sucks. I think he's mediocre. I think he's mediocre in the middle, just like every A&M coach that they've ever had.
I was a little bit surprised when he brought Colin Klein to be his OC. Former K-State quarterback.
No, I know. I think his offense worked great in the Big 12 because teams couldn't match up physically with what K-State was trying to do.
Yeah.
On a weekend basis. But in the SEC, I think it's a pretty vanilla defense, pretty vanilla offense.
Correct. Yeah, I thought he would try to get something a little bit more dynamic offensively. And when I say dynamic, I'm not talking about throwing the ball 60 times a game, but can we get some counter with some little RPO, some downfield passing.
Well, the thing is, you're in the state of Texas. There's guys that can sling the ball. We see Bo Bentley. There are
Yes.
dudes that can sling the ball. You're going to be able to recruit, quote unquote. Not they don't even have to be gunslingers. To your point, just quarterbacks that you really trust moving the ball around.
Yeah.
And it just seems like this offense. Look, we've seen it with Florida. This offense is very similar to the Tim Tebow. We talked Tim Tebow very early in the show. It's very similar to a Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer kind of offense, where a lot of quarterback run, a lot of, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I
do like their. I mean, we'll see if they're. I can't think of the kid's name, but their running back got hurt last year. Le'Veon Moss, but if he can come back healthy, if they can run the ball well and just set up some stuff, because they have talent everywhere. I think that's where they get the benefit of the doubt in Phil Steele's ranking. I think he looks at these rosters and they've got some dudes over there.
OU lines -2.5 versus Michigan, obviously 10.5, plus 10.5 versus Texas, plus 12.5 versus Alabama, -6.5 versus Missouri. Those are the four that I was able to find. I think we're right on with Michigan. I think Texas is going to be that line. And
we know what the game is.
Yeah,
line, it doesn't. Who cares? The line is.
The line does not scare me if we don't have a quarterback like we haven't had the last 2 out of 3 years. Then the game scares me, but the line doesn't scare me.
Yeah,
Bama at 12.5. I guess that's fine. Whatever.
It's high.
But they did see the game last year, right? I mean, I think we can acknowledge that BV can put together a defensive game plan.
Dude, they look so out of sorts from the first play.
Oh, Stutzman lit him up on the first play and it was over.
They just did. Yeah, they never. I mean, that game, you guys destroyed them. The score didn't even really indicate just what a beating that was. You guys were the more physical team. Yeah. On both sides too.
The Missouri line to me almost seems too low at 6.5. I think we'll destroy Missouri. I don't think Missouri is very good this year.
You definitely owe them one.
We owe them one, and it was so bad. That is the worst loss of the year. It's not even close. And that includes a beat down at Texas and whatever the hell happened.
At least that one made sense. It sucked for OU fans, I'm sure, but at least it made sense. The Texas game, it made sense, giving everything that was going on with OU football from an offensive standpoint.
Yes,
there's no way you guys are going to score, and I don't care how good your defensive game plan was.
Correct.
You can't move the football,
but to have a touchdown lead with 2 minutes to go against a backup quarterback,
correct, and then
in Missouri, is insane.
Yeah, at the very least, I mean, okay, they get the touchdown. All right, they got dudes, Theo Weiss and Luther Burden out there, receiver. But yeah, just what happened after that.
What happened? Whatever.
It cemented the end of the Jackson Arnold era.
Billy Bowman runs out of bounds instead of scoring a touchdown. We win the game.
Yeah,
with a field goal. And that tells you the lack of offensive confidence you have when you would rather not score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Back in the day with Lincoln Riley, you didn't want to score a touchdown because you didn't want the offense to have the ball.
Yeah.
And it actually ended up being the defense maybe that let you down in a sense. But really you're saying, I don't want to score the ball because it means we might have to have the ball again.
Yeah. It's it's not good. Listen, as a Texas fan, I'll tell you, we have lived that whole thing where, in 2021 with Sark, the offense was great. The defense was, really iffy. And then I was looking at that because I told you, I even tortured myself and watched the 21 highlights last night. Just last night. It just came across my YouTube.
21 Texas Oklahoma headlights, because that was a great game.
That one, yeah.
I hope you watched that game.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I did.
You watch games where Texas has lost?
You know what? There's certain things I want to see from those games. Here's why I watched that one. More from a analytical standpoint, if you go back and you watch those highlights, and I'll tell you why. You got to understand, obviously I'm a fan. I'm a Texas fan, but I'm also a fan of the game. And I like to see, if you look at that game, and it's just crazy to see what the programs are and how quickly things can change. The guys that Texas had on the field that day, out of the 22 guys, I mean, probably 10 of them, I don't even know if they get a scholarship offer. I mean, we had walk-ons playing, 2 linebackers that would not even get an offer. And there's just no way that they would get on the field. We had guys in the secondary that would never play for us. We had probably 3 out of our 5 offensive linemen would have no chance of getting on the field. And then with OU, watching Caleb Williams, just how special he was that day.
All right. We do not have to get into the psychology that is somebody watching games in which their team loses, because that could take us down a rabbit hole. I think that is really messed up. I think you must have been hurt as a child, and that's fine. I don't know. I've met your parents. They're wonderful people, but maybe at school, something like that hit you in your psyche that would cause you to put yourself through that. But then we don't have to go through there. Okay. I've got a therapist. I'll send you her number. She's great, but that's not the point. Let's talk about the 2021 game. Okay.
You have
the 2021. Huh?
You have a therapist?
Oh God, yeah. Are you kidding me? Yeah, if you've listened to the show 184 times, right? You don't think I need a therapist? My God.
We all need one. I just didn't know you had.
I got a therapist. I got prescriptions. I got the whole deal. That's neither here nor there, Kevin. I'm saying
no. I'm just saying I'm proud of you for having one.
I'm saying you are subjecting yourself to watching probably the worst loss in OU Texas history. Maybe. I mean, outside the blowouts, you were up. Whatever. That doesn't matter. Wow. Okay. Objectively, though, as it relates to the 2021 game, you talk about Caleb Williams. I think the biggest question when you watch that game is, how in the hell was Spencer Rattler starting over Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
How is that possible, right, dude? I mean, you said you just watched it. So from an Oklahoma perspective, how, why? Can you make any sense of it looking back in hindsight?
Well, I mean, first of all, Spencer Rattler is a very, very talented quarterback, right? He was. It's undeniable. However, let me get to it. Let me finish. But for whatever reason, when he stepped on the field, especially in that deal, like up here, he was just, the game messed with him, man. He couldn't handle the environment. He just couldn't. I mean, even in that game alone, he interceptions, fumbles. I think he had 2 picks and a fumble in that game. And he forced Lincoln Riley's hand there. You know, sometimes you just want a guy who has a little bit more experience, right? He had played the year before.
He was benched. He was benched in that game.
He got benched in that game because
they did win. They did
win. Yeah. So you went with a guy with experience. You have a 5-star guy who can really throw the football and do some really good things. But yeah, I mean, and sometimes you don't realize just how special a guy is, how he's going to react being in that environment. And Caleb Williams got in and literally from the first play completely flipped the game. It's 4th and 1. He sidesteps a defender in the hole and takes it to the house.
Yeah, but you'd admit that even better than that play, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that just showed you just right away. It was like, what? Whoa.
Well, the throw to Marvin Mims, though, right?
Oh, it's one of the best plays in the history of the rivalry. I mean,
it's unbelievable. The catch, Marvin Mims probably doesn't get enough credit for the catch he made, because his footwork on that play is as good as you'll ever see in college football. But the throw was unbelievable.
There was a little small square near the pylon, and that's the only spot where that ball would have been completed at. And he put it right there. And the thing about it is, he wasn't flat-footed. He threw it off one leg. He was running forward and threw it off one leg and dropped it to the only spot where it could have been caught.
Okay. You have talked about that Jalen Hurts is Riley's best coaching job. in terms of
Yes.
developing quarterbacks.
Yes.
Not even so much results, but just in terms of what wasn't accomplished with the potential of Spencer Rattler. Is Rattler his worst coaching job?
It's hard to say, right? Because
He was not, dude, he was not developed. He did not get better. In
correct.
2020, he did not get better as the year went on. He had a good game against Florida, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
Mullen was a little, baby about how that game went, but I guess he had a good, but dude, he just didn't get better.
He never. I don't know. I mean, was it a bad evaluation? Right. I mean, it's so hard to say.
I mean, to your point, he's in the NFL. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think he's not great in the NFL, and
Yeah.
I don't think he had any kind of career at South Carolina that's going to go down as anything.
Yeah. That's what makes you wonder. Is he just still living off of that?
But if that's the case, if it's a bad eval,
Mhm.
which might be the case, then how do you not in the first 4 weeks of that season realize this is a bad eval and we've got a superstar on the bench?
I mean, listen,
You got to call it, right?
Yeah, obviously I wasn't at any of those practices, and sometimes they're just guys who I'm dead serious about this. We've heard about this happening. They're guys that are okay in practice that can show some things, and then you put them on the field in the game, and then everything changes.
Look, Caleb Williams, the back half of that game. Oh, he was even great in the Oklahoma State game. He's not the reason we lost that Oklahoma State game, which would have taken us to the Big 12 championship and maybe even the playoff, which I can't even imagine, right? You don't even want to think about it because we'd have got destroyed, I think. It was Lincoln Riley's play calling in the second half. It's whatever. He was amazing.
Yeah.
He was amazing. But you know what? I don't know that he necessarily developed in his second year at USC either, though, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, the second year was weird. He was the first year, though.
The first year he won a Heisman, and deservedly so.
I'm not sure what happened the second year. I have no. It's was it the pieces around him? Yeah, was it the offensive line?
Oh, dude. Hey, I'm sorry that you had to relive that, Kevin, but I appreciate it because I got to talk about it.
Well, no. Here's the thing, though. I look at that game. I'm like, oh my God, we have really come a long way. I mean, look at where the program is compared to that day. I mean, first of all, the offensive play calling from Sark in the first half was just incredible. His game plan was unreal. But in the second half, defense wore down. We could not adjust to Kennedy Brooks in that weird counter play where you have a direct snap to Kennedy Brooks with 3 lead blockers pulling around. A lineman, Braden Willis, and then Drake Stoops serving as a lead blocker. They ran it 3 times. You ran the play 3 times, and it broke all 3 times.
Kevin, it was such a good play that Lincoln Riley never wanted to use it again.
Coaches are weird, man. I'm telling you, I've seen Sark do the same thing. He ran this play at Alabama in the red zone in the game against the national championship against Ohio State during the COVID year in the red zone, and it was an amazing play. And I have never seen him run it since then at Alabama or at Tech. Well, that was his last game at Alabama. He's never ran it at Texas. Freaking Ryan Day ran it in the championship game for Ohio State this year. It was the exact same play. I'm like, I wish Sark would run that in the red zone.
But Lincoln Riley never ran it again.
Yeah.
You got Kennedy Brooks. You're in the whatever. Okay. Hey, look, first of all, I feel like we've got back to our roots on this show because this was OU Texas intensive. Now, part of it is we haven't had a show in about 3 weeks, so we had a lot to catch up on.
Yeah.
But also, it tells you where we're at mentally.
Yeah.
We are ready for some football.
Yeah. I'm trying not to get too deep because then it starts to get frustrating because it's like, damn, it's taking forever. But it was hard, man.
But what enabled us, I think, to get to this point was the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, look, we're a couple weeks away from them having won a world championship. We don't need a complete breakdown of anything. We just need to know your thoughts and feelings on what Game 7 felt like and what the parade felt like, because you were there for both.
I was, yeah. First of all, very thankful to have been able to attend the Game 7. And the energy in the building was insane. It was excitement filled, mixed with nerves. Because everyone's like, "Man, we can actually, the Thunder can actually win a championship tonight." And at the same time, it's like, but they can also lose on their home floor, and we'd have to watch the Pacers lift the trophy. And I was gonna stay because it's the NBA Finals, it's the championship celebration. I gotta watch it either way. I told Casey, hey, if the Thunder lose, I'm not leaving. I'm gonna watch. You can if you want to go out, you can, but I'm watching. It's. So the game started off. Halliburton's on fire, right? He hits the 3 threes in the first quarter. They have the play. He loses the ball. He goes down. I never took my eyes off of him. I didn't even realize that the Thunder got a dunk on the other end. I saw him go down. And coincidentally, we were sitting next to 4 Pacer fans in our row. They were awesome, by the way. And they didn't see it. They were watching the play, and the guy next to him, I pointed. I said, Halliburton's hurt. And, it was really hard to see. Just as a fan of the game, someone who just loves the NBA, who really supports the great players, it was hard to see.
If this was Dallas last year and Luka went down, I would not be sad. I'd be like, that fat guy deserves to go down for all the whining and crying that he does. I can't stand him. I couldn't stand him at Dallas, and I definitely can't stand him as a Laker. That's not the case with Halliburton.
Yeah.
The reality is, if Indiana is playing anybody else in the NBA this year, except the Thunder in the NBA Finals, I'm rooting for Indiana. That team was everything you want from a small market NBA team. You've got a superstar in Halliburton. You've got TJ McConnell lifting up every white guy that's ever played basketball in the history of the game. You've got, you name it, grit, determination. Carlisle's coaching his ass off. I loved Indiana. I loved them.
Yeah, they're a fun team, man.
And to lose Halliburton, I won't say the victory felt hollow because you just won an NBA championship.
Correct.
But you're left with a taste in your mouth, like, I wish we could have seen what we could have done against Halliburton in the second half.
Correct, yeah. If we would have adjusted and just shut him down,
And maybe we would have. Maybe we would have. But the minute he went down, there was no doubt they were losing that game. None. Correct. Zero.
Yeah. And then listen, credit to them. They still fought their asses off, right? Even into the fourth quarter. They just didn't have it offensively. Even if Halliburton is not scoring, he's still pulling all the strings for their offense.
If Halliburton is in the game, it means Lou Dort has to be on Halliburton, or Cason Wallace has to be on Halliburton, or Caruso has to be on Halliburton. And then that frees up, everybody else down the line.
Nembhard and Neesmith and Mathurin and all their other guys.
All of them. But you take him out, and now it's like, okay. And I think it even took a minute for OKC to go, okay, well, who do we need to guard?
Correct. I think it took them time to adjust to him not being out
right?
There.
Yeah, I felt that way, at least watching it. But it was just, it's like, look, McConnell might score every point in the second half. McConnell is not beating the Thunder in the NBA Finals.
No, not going to happen. He was great, by the way, but yeah.
He was great. The problem is, it's a really cool stat if you're a TJ McConnell fan that he's the only guy that scored for like 10 minutes in the second half.
That's horrible for the Pacers.
But that's horrible for the Pacers. That's terrible. Because the Thunder are like, dude, go ahead, bro. Like, I'm not saying we're going to give him free runs, and he did everything he could, but he just, come on. At the end of the day, he's not going to. This isn't. Look at the Lakers and the Pistons in 88. Yeah, it was 88. Lakers
won. Who won the series?
The Lakers.
Okay, yeah, 88.
Isaiah Thomas scored 25 points in the third quarter. 25 points. It's an issue when one player scores that many points. It means nobody else is helping you out.
Off a
Because they
destroyed ankle too, wasn't it?
a destroyed ankle. But they still lost the game.
Correct.
And that's what the Lakers said to themselves. It's like, look, I mean, what we're seeing is historic and all this, but if this is all they got, we're beating this team.
We're going to win the game, yeah.
And the same thing happened. I mean, TJ McConnell isn't Isaiah Thomas.
Not at all, no. Not at all.
Parade.
Oh, yeah, I mean.
Had you been to a San Antonio parade?
You know, I wouldn't see what they would do in San Antonio is they would have the parade down the Riverwalks. The players would be on the barges and fans would be all around there. And then after that, the players, they would head to the Alamo Dome. They would have a rally inside the Alamo Dome. That's what I would do because it was hard to do both. So I would just go and be in the Alamo Dome. They would show the parade on the Jumbotron. Then the players get there. They have the trophy and all that. So that's what I would do. So I actually never went to the actual parade. I would go to the rally instead.
Was the parade awesome?
Awesome. Dude, it was awesome, man. First of all, they had the rally inside the Paycom Center before the parade. I was able to go to that. That was awesome, man. Being in there, seeing the players, just kind of being themselves. Because NBA players are a bit different, right, than they used to be. The guys are just a little bit more buttoned up, at least on the court, right? You don't see a lot of dynamic personalities anymore. Besides,
especially with the Thunder. The Thunder organization, historically, since Presti and since being in Oklahoma City, has been a very buttoned-up organization.
Yeah, which I appreciate. But, you know, it's nice to see the guys kind of in their element, right? So that was cool, just hearing them talk and just be themselves, you know, let loose, celebrate. It was really cool to see. And then, so from there, they left the arena and then started the parade. So we're able to watch a lot of the parade from inside the Paycom Center. But as they got close to the Paycom Center, we went outside and were able to see the buses go by. And dude, it was awesome. Just seeing someone who, you know, lived in San Antonio 4 times before I moved, just seeing the energy in the city was really, really cool to see. Just seeing something that brings everybody together, just something to be proud of, right? And we've talked about this with Oklahoma City. Growing up in San Antonio, I didn't have any bad thoughts about Oklahoma. I just didn't know anything about Oklahoma City. I knew one thing, which is the terrible event of April 19th, 1995.
Yep.
That's what I knew about. That's literally the only thing I knew about Oklahoma City. And I think the people here feel that same thing. Now the Thunder brought just something else, something to be proud of. When you mention Oklahoma City, you think of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's just a good thing.
It's historic. It's a worldwide situation, right? You're going to travel someday to Europe or Asia or whatever, and you'll have a Thunder hat on, and people will go, "Oh, world champions!" You know what I mean? Like, It will happen because that's what the NBA is. And sometimes you forget that when you're in it, right? And you think to yourself, "Well, this is just Oklahoma City. This is no." Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is that dude. He's a superstar, and he is international, just if you count Canada, but across the world. You go down to, I don't want to say Cabo or Cancun because that's just little America, but like anywhere in the world with a Thunder hat on over the next 5 or 10 years, and they're going to go, Shai, world champions? Right. They're going to want to talk to you about it because that's what this means. Real quick on Shai. He signs the Supermax deal and the largest contract in United States sports history.
Yeah, per season, yes.
North American sports history. Maybe a soccer player signed for more.
Guys have had bigger amounts on the contract, but it's over more years. So nobody has gotten this much per season. 71 per year.
Maybe a soccer player somewhere.
I've never heard of anybody getting 71 per year.
Okay.
So it's
however, there's an argument to be made that he actually took a pay cut because if he waits a year, he would have gotten $300 million, which would have been
it'd have been
75
76
million a year, 76 million a year. Okay, let me ask because I'm a little conflicted on this. In some ways, he took a pay cut and will help us over the next 4 years. But in another sense, is we potentially lost him we've lost him for a year, right? Because now he's going to be eligible for free agency. I mean, you think that's a consideration, or
I don't think so.
or you like signing him right
fine.
now?
Yeah. Lock him up now. Go ahead and lock him up now. I think it helps the team. And I think he knows where he wants to be, right? I mean, he's a smart guy. I think he understands that everything he wants to do as a player, he can accomplish it being in Oklahoma City, right? Gone are those days when you have to be in a big market to be marketable.
Well, and he's a different dude, man.
Right.
He's a different kind of superstar. I think
Yeah.
you'd agree with that, right? Like
For sure. Yeah, he's pretty private, even though he's a fashion guy. He's got a shoe coming out in the fall, which is going to be huge, I believe. But yeah, I think he just understands that this is the best place for him, and everything that he wants as a player, he has it right here. He's got a great organization. He is the guy. The franchise, the team has been built around him and what he does well. Everybody loves him. His teammates love him. The coaches love him. So it just seems like a great situation. Why leave for some uncertainty? Now, you never know what's going to happen in 4 years. But I mean, in 4 years, he'll be 31. You got the title.
Hey, in 4 years, even if he does nothing else, which would be hard to comprehend, it's possible though. But let's say no title, no MVP in the next 4 years. I think it's unlikely, at least on the MVP front. I think a title is always really hard to get, but I think he can get the stats, and because of the title, it puts him in a position to be on MVP watch every year, right? If that makes sense. Just like Jokic is.
For sure.
He's on it just because he won a title. But in 4 years, if Shea's like, you know what? I want to go to Toronto and try to win this team a title because I'm Canadian and this would be amazing. I don't think anybody in the world's blaming him. I don't think there's any Oklahoma fan that is like, no, man, you turn your back on us or whatever. I mean, I think there'll be some feelings, but I don't think it's going to be.
But it's not going to be universal.
It's not the end of the world.
It's not another KD situation.
To me, it's like Jordy Ball winning a title for Oklahoma. I mean, obviously on a much smaller scale, but winning a title for Oklahoma and then going to play at Nebraska and saying, hey, I want to try to get Nebraska to be what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's historic. It's unique. It's awesome. All right. A couple things for 4th of July weekend, Kevin.
Real quick.
Oh, please.
I just want to say for the Indiana Pacers, just how much it sucks, right? Obviously losing the Game 7 sucks, but we're all going to remember them this run forever, right? Especially people who are really hardcore NBA fans. But, they lose Halliburton all next season. And now Miles Turner is gone. So it's like you go from one game away from winning the title to now your future just being an absolute limbo right now.
Now, Halliburton out. We think he's out for the entire season next year.
Yeah,
is that the prognosis?
No,
I know he did.
Yeah. It's a year. It's usually a year-long injury, man. And why? And what are you going to do? Bring him back? With 10 games?
No, you're right.
Same with Tatum. I don't want to see Jason Tatum on the court next year. Shut it down. For what?
Did Tatum hurt his Achilles too?
Yeah. We had three All-Stars in the playoffs tear their Achilles. 3. Jason Tatum, Damian Lillard, and Tyrese Halliburton.
Damian Lillard just got released. You see that?
Yes. Pretty shocking move. But I actually think it's not bad for him. Right?
You think he asked for? Does he still get paid?
He asked for it. No. Yes. They're stretching his contract out. And he gets to sign with whoever he wants. And then he has a choice. He can sign now, rehab with the team, or he can just do his own rehab and then sign later. Yeah. He's getting paid either way, $22 million a year from Milwaukee. That allowed Milwaukee to sign Miles Turner from Indiana. In an attempt to keep Giannis there.
It sucks for Indiana. I feel bad. That's terrible. But for Oklahoma City, I don't know that I've ever can remember. The only team I talked to my son Jeffrey about this. The only team I think that compares in the modern era to how set up Oklahoma is, and I don't know that they're going to do this, Oklahoma City. I don't know if this is going to be their legacy or not, but is Golden State in 2014-15. That team was set up for future success. You had
Yeah.
Steph locked down. You had his complementary pieces locked down. You were able to bring in, Andre Iguodala out, other players in, all this kind of situation that just really, really worked out for them. Because this is not the Lakers in 2000. This is not Denver even, because Denver was a unique situation. This was not Milwaukee. I don't think Milwaukee was set up nearly as well.
No.
Clearly they weren't. So I don't know. Okay.
Well, Lakers in 2000 actually is kind of similar.
Who?
The Lakers in 2000.
Oh, in 2000. I meant 2020 though.
Oh, okay.
2000.
Okay.
2000. Yes.
Yeah.
2000. Yes. I'm talking about recent memory, but yeah. Okay. Yeah. For sure. No. I agree with that. I agree that that's a similar setup. It's definitely not a one and done. I mean, whether they win it again,
correct. You know they're going to be in the mix.
To be determined, but
yeah. And good luck, man, because they're only going to get better, right? I mean, I think Chet Holmgren is going to be in the lab really developing his offense.
Well, was J-Dub really as hurt as everybody says he was?
I mean, he had surgery on his wrist right away.
That's amazing.
Seriously.
That's amazing.
Guy. Yeah. What a tough guy. Never said a word about it. Never heard a thing.
It is not surprising when NBA players want to shut stuff down.
Oh no. Yeah.
And I'm not questioning them, but it's not surprising.
Yeah.
But for him not to even come out, because the strained calf of Halliburton is all we heard for 7 games. Strained calf.
Rightfully so.
And it was
what happened.
And it looks like it was real. It looks like it was real. I'm not even saying that.
Yeah.
It looks real, or it was real, clearly. But you didn't even hear about a wrist. Like, it didn't even come up that it was strained or like any.
Yeah, nothing. No mention of it at all.
Kevin, it's the 4th of July. This is my American hat. Can't tell. I bleed red, white, and blue. The men's soccer team will be playing Mexico in the CONCACAF. Did Mexico win yesterday?
I believe so. Yeah.
We'll be playing in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. I know you follow the men's national team probably more than me, but I watched that Costa Rica game with the penalty kicks and stuff like that. The only question I have is, why is Berhalter's son on this team?
I have no idea, man.
It's off-putting though, right? You'll agree it's off-putting?
Well, I mean, if he's good enough, put him out there. No matter.
Do you think he's good enough? Do you think he's good enough? Because he didn't even put it on frame and I'm not putting this on one kick. I get all that, but still, bro.
Yeah, he didn't look good in that moment. That's for sure.
It's uncomfortable.
I have a lot of issues with this team.
It's uncomfortable to watch Berhalter's kid, but this isn't their A team, right? When it's a Gold Cup, this is like a B+ team, a B.
Whoa, no, this time it is. I mean, 10 years ago, all our best guys played in the Gold Cup. All our best guys played in everything.
Well, but that didn't help it. Did that make us better? Is he trying to develop some bench strength? Like, what's the rationale?
Well, I mean, our best guys asked to not play. Pulisic asked to not play.
I think it's weak then. If you're saying it's weak, I agree with you.
So yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how international soccer works. That like this is a thing.
Well,
does Mexico have all their best guys?
I believe so. Like all the best players that play in Europe are playing for their national teams right now, in whatever tournaments they're in.
Well, then it's typical soccer. Whatever. It's stop. Just play the game, dude. Like,
just play. Yeah.
Just play the game. Anyway,
it's concerning because we're hosting the World Cup next year.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I didn't even think about that.
I feel good about it at all. I've never felt worse. I've been following the team for about 20 years now.
Well,
and I've never felt
you felt worse when Berhalter was the coach, right?
No,
like last year.
No, I did not.
Oh, I did. God, I think he was a terrible coach.
But our players
are not invested. We're not invested.
They don't seem like they are. That's what's concerning because the players were still invested last year. They got the new coach, Pochettino, who's done some decent things in Europe, right? He's coached some really big clubs in Europe. PSG, Tottenham Hotspur. But
he threw some shade on Pulisic for not playing.
He did. Yes. Because I mean, like this, we got a World Cup next year that we're hosting. This is a tremendous opportunity. And I feel horrible about the team right now. And things can change. And maybe these young guys that they're playing, maybe they're earning the right to be on the team in the World Cup, right? Everybody's auditioning. But it's such a huge deal to have the World Cup on American soil for the first time since 1994. And
Hey,
at least we always get through the group stage, right? Every World Cup we get out of
seemingly,
yeah. I can't remember. I mean, obviously in 2018 we didn't qualify at all, which was just
yeah.
unfathomable. But when we are there, we always advance from the group, right? And then a lot of times we lose in round of 16 in a hard fought game. And if that's our ceiling, that's fine. But I just want to see our best guys out there.
On a positive note for this team, though, Freezy at keeper is a bright spot. And does he get who's the other?
Well, Matt Turner has been the number one for the last few years.
But does this at least create a competition going into?
I hope so. I hope so, because that's what these players need. You got to have somebody pushing you.
Because that's what you're afraid. That's what you're saying. Pulisic doesn't have, is he doesn't have a kid.
No. He's just by far, he's far and away the best player on the team. So no one's really gonna push him for a spot. But in other countries, again, we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there because
my God,
we're not there. We're not there because the Olympic Development Program in the United States is still based on pay to play.
Correct. 100% agree.
And until you subsidize soccer a la football in America, or a la baseball in the Dominican Republic, which is a wholly subsidized sport, which allows you to identify talent without it having to be. Instead, you get and I talk about this all the time with girls soccer. Now, on the national team, it is a diverse roster.
Yeah.
It is a diverse roster. Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, Mallory Pugh. There's Crystal Dunn.
But
there's diversity on the roster. But you go to any soccer tournament down in Dallas, Texas on a Saturday at the U14, U15 level, there's a lot of white girls with blonde hair. And I'm not saying those white girls with blonde hair can't play. One of those is my daughter. I'm just saying the lack of diversity is stark.
And I'm curious too, there might be racial diversity, but there's no financial, I don't know if there's financial diversity.
Well, that's
the question.
That's what we. That's
even those kids, Trinity Rodman.
She's a Rodman, right?
Correct. Yeah. So it's still not the diversity that we need. The type of. Obviously that's
and I'm not even talking African American diversity. I'm talking just diversity in general. We are a diverse country.
Yeah.
And you see that in other sports. But for whatever reason, you don't see it in soccer. Not for whatever reason. There's a very specific reason, because it's pay to play. You don't see that diversity represented in soccer. You just don't.
Look at the Brazilian team. You got kids who run around barefoot, living in the favela, who become global superstars because they were talented and they identified it at a young age. Hey, come play for us. You don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, we just don't do it.
Yeah, no.
We don't do it. It's not very well done. And I imagine it's just. I can't speak to the boys' side, but I imagine very much it's the boys' side of things too.
Oh my God, for sure. 100%. Yes.
Now, the cream rises to the top, but to your point, if there's only so much in the cream,
and if these guys, Weston McKennie, he would have been a football player if someone didn't discover him that he had soccer talent. So there's guys all over the place who could have been star soccer players who just ended up playing other sports because they could afford to play those sports.
Also, Kevin, with the dog days of summer, we're going to close this out. We're going to close this out right now, but I'm going to give a couple of movie reviews real quick. I haven't given movie reviews in a while. F1 is absolutely fantastic.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. Did you go to? Is it theaters only, or did you watch it on TV?
Oh no, theater. You want to watch it in the theater?
Just because of the sound aspect too. Yeah, I can imagine.
Here's the deal. This is what my wife and I talked about when we left the movie. Is that it follows a 1980s formula for a movie. In the sense that there's a formula, you know what's going to happen. but it feels good to watch it.
Yeah. So the Top
And
Gun, basically.
100%. 100%. And in addition, there's no CGI. So it's all real.
That's
And
all.
so when you're watching it, it feels so good to watch a real movie. And then, of course, Brad Pitt, speaking of America, an American treasure. What are we talking about? He's fantastic. It's F1, which the United States racing fan might not be, we think of racing, we're thinking of Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. You know what I mean? Which is a great movie too. Don't get me wrong. However, it just feels good. So that's number one. And then the second one, this is speaking of the 80s, the new Karate Kid movie. If you got kids out there and you have to take them to the Karate Kid movie, you suck as a parent. This is why people act right at my age. It's because we had the Karate Kid. You need to have your kid. Dude, Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio, whoever the kid is that's doing it. It's so good, Kevin.
Awesome.
It's so good.
I'll check it out.
Look.
Awesome.
Now, does that have to be on the big screen? I don't know. I guess you could watch it when it comes out. Whatever. It was good.
But
F1
theater.
If I don't look, we didn't watch it in IMAX, but if there's an IMAX showing of it, like just spend the $12. It is good. It's one of the it's Top Gun Maverick. It's what's gonna happen, and it just feels so good. It's nostalgic.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Kevin, 4th of July plans real quick before we close up.
Blowing stuff up, man. In true American fashion. Setting out fireworks, man. You already know.
Well, first of all, we do the fireworks. We will light some S up. You know what I mean? But last year, cautionary tale. Last year, I had like a smoke bomb, but it was shaped like a cylinder, right?
Okay.
Smoke bomb. A smoke bomb. I'm not saying alcohol was involved in the situation.
Well, you're not saying it wasn't either.
And I'm also saying I'm very much a lightweight. So it might have only been 2 adult beverages. I'm not saying I was like 10 deep. I'm just, whatever. But I do also get excited about the fireworks. Like it just, you get going up, I'm like Tommy Boy with the, you know what I mean? And so we had this smoke bomb. And one of the kids, which you should not listen to 12-year-old kids, was like, hey, can I hold that? And I said, well, let me hold it first and see. But in my mind, I'm thinking it's like a smoke bomb / Roman candle.
Okay.
Like I'm going to be able to run around like the Statue of Liberty with this smoke bomb, if this makes sense. Like this is in my mind. This is what I thought. So I light it. And I've got it in my hand. Oh, no. It was a 3-point smoke bomb. Top, bottom, and in the middle. Red, white, and blue. The blue smoke went like straight to my hand. Now, very minor burns. Borderline 2nd degree. I did not die or lose any appendages, but it woke me to you-know-what up.
Yeah.
It woke me up. I was like, oh my God, drop it down. The point is, don't listen to 12-year-old kids when they come up with a suggestion like, can I hold it? Because the answer is probably no. The answer is probably no.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've seen
Lesson learned.
Pierre Paul, man, lost multiple fingers in a firework incident.
And still had a great career.
He did. But still,
man. Had a great career. It didn't bother him.
You just don't want a mangled hand.
He still got paid. It wasn't mangled. Hands still fine.
For you, yeah.
But
you
hurt.
were fortunate. Yeah, you were fortunate.
It hurt.
I was telling Casey, I was probably 18, 19, and hanging out with a friend in this little town called Natalia, Texas, south of San Antonio, and hanging out with his family down there. And we're all out in the street shooting out fireworks. And I'm just standing there, and I just hear a whistling sound, and I get hit in the arm with a bottle rocket from the neighbors down the street.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you were targeted. Do you feel like were you targeted?
No, man. These guys are just idiots. Ran down